Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nikhil Parekh from Ahmedabad city in India. In this video, I shall be giving you a recitation of my poem titled Cursed Terrorism. This poem of mine is in my book that is titled Love vs. Terrorism Part 1, that has differently titled poems on anti-terror, peace, love, and brotherhood. So without wasting a further instant, let me commence upon the recitation of my poem, Cursed Terrorism. The bird of ghastly terrorism might undoubtedly fly all right, but without the most ethereal trace of direction, and miserably collapsing in its non-existent grave, as its decayed wings woefully crumbled midair. As its decayed wings woefully crumbled midair. The waterfall of indiscriminate terrorism might undoubtedly cascade all right, but it never was able to touch even an inconspicuous iota of pricelessly venerated soil. The car, the car of crucifying terrorism might undoubtedly shuck forward all right, but it soon uncontrollably exploded into such an inferno of indecipherable nothingness that was impossible to find even in the corpses of obliviously paralytic hell. The soil, the soil of sadistic terrorism might undoubtedly sprout all right, but every fruit which it dared to parsimoniously bear salaciously sunk an infinite feet beneath worthless mud, even before they could kiss the first beams of morning light. The clouds of unforgivable terrorism might undoubtedly rain all right, but every globule of water that they satanically used, was that of venomously cannibalistic and mercilessly slandering blood. The mountains of slavering terrorism, the mountains of slavering terrorism might undoubtedly stand all right, but every epitome of theirs, was shamefully and sinfully inverted, like the endlessly outstretched palms, of the wailing beggar, who never ever witnessed even the most insouciant trifle of wealth all his wretchedly impoverished life. The eyes, the eyes of the eyes of nondescript terrorism might undoubtedly see all right. The eyes of nondescript terrorism, might undoubtedly see all right, but every ray that radiated from their whites metamorphosed into the most remorsefully maiming graveyard of deplorable blackness, even in insupportably flaming sunlight. The tree of vindictive terrorism might undoubtedly fructify all right, but every of its leaf charred you in the most inconsolably pathetic extinction. Instead of mollifying every frazzled nerve of yours with mesmerizing shade, the sea of unsparing terrorism might undoubtedly swirl all right, but each of its demonically asphyxiating wave drowned you into a mortuary of wanton meaninglessness. Drowned you into a mortuary of wanton meaninglessness, even before you could emanate your first or last breath. Even before you could emanate your first or last breath. The sun, the son of frigid terrorism, the sun, the son of frigid terrorism, the son of frigid terrorism, the son of frigid terrorism might undoubtedly shine all right, but every of its criminally diabolical ray could foment nothing else but only tirelessly beheading nightfall. Even in the peak of irrefutably blistering day, the moon of brutal terrorism might undoubtedly twinkle all right, but every of its deliriously surreptitious beams metamorphosed even the most impeccably divine child into an unstoppably marauding dinosaur of perverted crime, into an unstoppably marauding dinosaur of perverted crime. The mirrors of agonizing terrorism might undoubtedly reflect all right, but every image that they lividly portrayed was that of the vengefully bombarding and bizarrely demented devil. The sky of ominous terrorism might undoubtedly stretch all right, but even the most transiently feckless ounce of space in it irretrievably and solely belonged to the coffins of despicably pulverizing hell. The veins of heartless terrorism might undoubtedly bleed all right, but every droplet of blood that they frenetically oozed bore the color of carnivorously amorphous and unsurpassably lackadaisical nothingness. The meadows of tyrannical terrorism might undoubtedly do all right, but globule of sanctimoniously ironical golden, that was the most unconquerable despicable venom that planet Earth could ever produce. The mouth of truculent terrorism might undoubtedly speak all right, but every word that it rambunctiously uttered was the most ignominiously sinful abuse on the grace of the omnisciently almighty Lord, on the grace of the omnisciently almighty Lord. The shadows of acrimonious terrorism might undoubtedly lurk all right, but timelessly impregnating only germs of baselessly excoriating fear in one and all, disgustingly alike. The nostrils of plagued terrorism might undoubtedly breathe all right. The nostrils of plagued terrorism might undoubtedly breathe all right. But each puff, but each puff of air that they notoriously inhaled buried them deeper and deeper into the most horrendously torturous gorges of inveterate death. But each puff of air that they notoriously inhaled buried them deeper and deeper into the most horrendously torturous gorges of inveterate death. And the heart of cursed terrorism might undoubtedly throb all right, but each beat that it penuriously diffused, barbarously incarcerated every organism on this fathomless planet into chains of hedonistically assassinating war and limitless hatred. And the heart of cursed terrorism might undoubtedly throb all right. Of cursed terrorism, of cursed terrorism might undoubtedly throb all right. But each beat that it penuriously diffused, barbarously incarcerated every single organism on this fathomless planet into chains of hedonistically assassinating war and limitless hatred. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me. From the innermost dormitory of my soul, I wanted to thank you for your gorgeously spectacular patronization to my poetry.